This is Jimmy with Bentley Ridge Tree Farm. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of a behind the scenes look at what it takes to put a tree on our lot. There's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes out here at Bentley Ridge that make this tree grow and adapt and become better, pruned. You've seen some of those videos already. But what does it take on day one to get this tree planted and get it ready to go out here? One thing I always like to point out here is our root control bag. This is something that I am very, very fond of. Most of the times at nurseries, you're going to see a lot of black containers, a lot of ball and burlap. Nothing wrong with either of these planting methods either, but this one in particular is kind of what we view as the future of the industry. These are the best in the business. There's nothing better to grow a tree into. It allows for the roots to get trapped in the edges. You got 100% of your root structure there. These things are incredible. So when you come out to Bentley Ridge, if you're looking around, you find the white bags out here. These are ones that started day one out here and have continued their growth into being part of our retail sale.
The first part of our planting process involves getting bare root trees off of semis in bundles. We ship the trees in this way as it is the most cost-efficient way for us to start our trees and allows for us to get thousands of trees instead of hundreds. The worker on the right is taking the bundles of bare root trees and separating them so that the employee in the middle can take the tree, put it on a spindle where it rotates around and gets all the roots pruned uniformly. This is also important because the pruned roots are facing the correct direction and are not crammed into the pot, hopefully preventing girdling roots. These roots are also able to take up nutrients very efficiently. The last part of our initial process is putting the bare root trees into troughs filled with water so that those new roots can soak prior to being planted. The next part of the planting process is the actual planting line. It is at this point in time that we will transfer the trees from the root pruning area to the actual planting line space. You will notice that the trees do go back into water again until they are individually pulled to go onto the planting line. There are also several steps to this line that we will look at more in depth as the video goes along here to show you how all of our trees end up in our fields. Another thing that I like to bring up at this point in time is the use of our root control bags. You will notice that our trees go into a white fabric container instead of a black plastic one. The root control bag system, like a container, allows for 100% of the roots to be present underneath of the tree at the time of transplant. However, it traps the roots in the fabric layer and does not allow them to get spiraled near as much as what a container does. A lot of nurseries in our industry are moving to the root bag system. We use the Root Maker Root Trapper bags on 100% of the items in our fields. Taking a more in-depth look at the planting line begins with the pre-filler. This employee takes the bags from our boxes, which you will notice take up a lot less space than black plastic containers. Then, using a foot pedal, they fill the bottom portion of the bag about a quarter of the way up to allow for the roots of the new tree to have a quality potting mix to get them established. This also eliminates some of the settling process as the roots are very fibrous and tough to get material through once they are in the bag. The next step on the planting line is putting the tree into the bag. You will notice how wet the tree is when it goes into the bag. This is from both soaking in water and then we do dip them in a gel-like substance that helps retain moisture on the roots themselves. This employee takes time to situate the roots into the potting media. You don't want to be super gentle at this point in time as the roots need to get correctly positioned in the bag in order for the tree to succeed. Next, the trees go onto the post fill. You will notice this worker uses a foot pedal to fill potting media all the way to the top of the bag, ensuring that there are no creases or wrinkles on the side of the bag at time of filling. You will also notice that he grabs the trunk of the tree and situates it a couple of different times. This again is to make sure that there are no air gaps in the media itself. Taking a look at the post-fill step from a different angle shows how important it is for the employee to vigorously move the tree a few different times. You can see how much the media settles underneath as he is doing this. Another point that I bring up here is that the importance of the root flare being slightly above the grade of the potting media in the bag. It is vitally important that the root flare be above grade. As the saying goes, if it's high, it doesn't die. The root flare of the tree is where the top root of the tree comes off of the trunk. There are a lot of misconceptions that it is good to have the root flare buried, but in reality, it should be 1 to 2 inches above grade when it is planted in your yard. The next step in the planting process is tamping. Tamping is arguably the most important component of planting bare root trees. We have already talked about settling and the issues that can arise if air pockets are in the soil. Some of the other steps along the planting process help alleviate massive amounts of settling. However, at this point in time, an employee dedicates all of their resources to making sure that there are no air pockets left in the soil. You will notice that when the tree left the post-fill step, the bag was completely full. By the time the tree leaves the tamping step, it has already settled half an inch to an inch. Another part of our bags is making sure that there are no creases on the edges of the bag for roots to get trapped in and potentially create girdling roots. So the worker rotates the tree as it is getting tamped. The final step on the actual planting line is a machine called the fault line. The fault line, again, helps settle the potting media into the bag by shaking it vigorously over a 3-foot space. At the end of the potting line, the tree is received by the final employee, who puts a tag on the tree that identifies what it is. From this point, the tree is loaded onto tracking trailers and taken out into our field. The trees pictured here are all 25-gallon trees. They will not be ready to sell until the trees have reached about a 2-inch caliper. This could be up to 4 years at our farm, depending on the species of the tree.
Whew, there's a lot of steps that go into our planting process. From root pruning, to soaking, to pre-fill, to putting the tree in the bag, to post-fill, to tagging, to bringing it out to our fields. There's even a few steps that we missed in this video, including deeply watering each of the trees individually before it comes out to the field, bringing them out to the field, putting them into our collars, getting them in our stabilizers, hooking up irrigation. There are so many different steps that are involved with just getting this tree off of the truck. In its first 2 weeks that it spends out here at Bentley Ridge Tree Farm, it goes through all these different steps and makes it out here into one of our fields. Now looking at this one in specific here, we have an ivory silk Japanese tree lilac. This tree probably going to be here for another 3 to 4 years. Lots of maintenance pruning, lots of different things that are going to happen. Yearly fertilizers, things there. And then at the end, like we showed at the beginning of this video, you're going to see one of those 2 to 2.5 inch caliper trees come to fruition out on our retail floor. So that's what goes into planting out here at Bentley Ridge Tree Farm.